We are at Sirach chapter 25, or also known as Ecclesiasticus chapter 25. So let's go there. We are stuff all on the screen. Hold on. All right, Ecclesiasticus or Sirach chapter 25. All right, we're going to start at verse 1. We're going to start at verse 1. And remember the last chapter was kind of dealing with wisdom. I remember it was talking about wisdom and giving different aspects and angles of how wisdom is, how it was kind of created, what it was for, all those things. Okay. You can also find it in Proverbs. It kind of very similar, the writing and the description of it. Okay. We're going to go to Ecclesiasticus, like I said, chapter 25, and start at verse 1. I like how it starts. In three things I was beautified, right? I was made better in three things, and stood up beautiful both before God and man. The unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, a man and a wife that agree together. Right? So I love this one, beloved, because sometimes we think it's always, well, I gotta do something. If it's good or positive to God, it has to be negative to men. No. Certain things that's kind of universal acceptance or make things better. So unity of brethren, right, is a beautiful thing. The Most High loves it, but also we look and you see, brethren and, even with sisters, right? When we working together as one, that's a beautiful thing. People look like, wow. Definitely when you look in the world, everything is about basically separating and, over here, you do this over here and all this kind of stuff, right? When you see unity, people coming together, it's supposed to be a beautiful thing. When they see the people got coming together, it's supposed to be a beautiful thing. Right? So I'm going to show so again part of it. Where is that at? Is it Psalms 133? Let's see. If it ain't here, we're just gonna have to not do. Oh, yep. Psalms 133. Psalms 133. Okay. This is verse 1. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. All right. So we see it. Psalms, you talk about it. All right. So it's good and pleasant for brethren to dwell together in unity. Verse 2. It is like precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, and went down to the skirts of his garment. Now, the beautiful thing about that, if you didn't know, Aaron had a special anointing on him that was not to be duplicated or replicated. Okay. So it's telling you how precious unity of the brethren come together is compared to something that's supposed to be one of a kind, right? One of a kind. Okay. Verse 3. Okay. Verse 3. It says, as the dew of Hermon and as the dew of descendants upon the mountains of Zion, and there Yahweh commanded the blessings, even like forevermore. Okay. So it's a beautiful thing. God makes it very clear, the Spirit telling you that when definitely brethren come together, right? Because brethren, sometimes is somebody got to be the boss, is this, and then we got pride and ego that get mixed in and all that kind of stuff. So when you see it coming together, you can see how the Spirit is drawing it together. So it's a beautiful thing. All right. Some people get compelled just by seeing the unity of brethren. Some people want to be a part of it, right? You see unity of brethren. Some people are like, I want to be a part of that, right? So it's a beautiful thing. In the eyes of God, also the eyes of men. The love of neighbors, same thing. Okay. So it's next to you, being nice to you. Those things is beautiful. Okay. And we know in our commandments it talks about, right? Loving our neighbor, what? As ourselves. So we know the Most High loves that aspect. Okay. And we also know how we ought to love our neighbors because we have the commandments and laws that give us that insight. A man and a wife that agree together. Okay. So I love that he could put that little caveat in there because sometimes don't say it. So a man and a wife that what? Agree together. Because you can have a man and wife, you have married people, but it ain't just a beautiful thing, marriage. Right. A lot of times this day and age, you see a lot of stuff where it's almost like it's almost like a distaste for marriage, and they always glorifying that as, issues and problems, and it's just a mess. But when you really see it harmonizing, two people that truly love each other and being one, right? That's a beautiful thing. They're agreeing. And when it says agree with one, don't mean that everything they both agree with. Like, okay, we're exactly the same. No. But those that, when you see that couple working together for the great common goal, better goal, it's a beautiful thing to witness. And that's how it's supposed to be looked at with the people of God. We're supposed to have a beautiful marriage that people look in and say, man, I want that. I desire that. Okay. So it is a beautiful thing. It's supposed to be that way, beloved. Okay. And things do happen. We understand that. But this is the goal. I want to teach you what the goal is. All right. And this is what we have to be teaching even the young people. We don't want to teach them to hurt. We don't want to teach them all these things. Those things happen, but we want to teach you, listen, this is what marriage is supposed to be like. You need to make sure you invest and see who your partner is so that it can be to that level, because it's a beautiful thing like that. But two people coming together, right, not agreeing on everything, that's not the true form of what the Most High intended for it. Okay? Now let's go to the next verse, unless somebody has something to add to verse 1. Okay, so good. All right. 3 sorts of men my soul hateth, and I am greatly offended at their life. A poor man that is proud, a rich man that is a liar, and an old adulterer that doteth. Okay. So he's saying these things, these things I despise, right? I'm greatly offended when I see this, right? So a poor man that's proud. Why talk about poor man? Because it's one thing when you poor, or when you look at poor, don't just think monetary with lacking of money, right? But you're in need, right? Somebody that's in need, when they're acting proud, it's like you're already at a humble state. It should be easier, right, to be humble when you're already at a humble state. You don't have much. So it's saying that person still to have that pride, that spirit of pride, all of them in that condition. So that they despise that, right? A rich man that is a liar. All right. I'm sure a liar in general can get you upset, but it's like if you're a rich man, it's like you don't like what's almost your reasoning? Like you have everything. Like you don't have the reason, probably as somebody that don't have certain things might feel more obligated to it. So I'm guessing that's how he's kind of compromising. So a rich man is a liar, a poor man is proud, right? And also an old adulterer that doteth. I have to look at that word doteth. It's not it's from the word like dote. So you can look in certain dictionaries, it's not going to have it. All right. But I did look at it just to get it. So they have 2 different definitions of it: a mental decline or excessive in love. Okay, so take how you want to take it. Okay, so that's the third thing. His soul hateth. 3, if thou hast gathered nothing in thy youth, how canst thou find anything in thine age? All right. So if you didn't gather in the youth, he said, how can you find anything in thine age? All right. So, beloved, one thing we want to realize is whatever state we come in, whatever age we come in, right? Because don't let the age just be a deterring factor. Oh, I'm too old. Well, it's just, it's over. No. Whenever you come in, you gather as much as you can. All right. The young, of course, they should be gathering in. You want to gather these things of God so when you're older, right, and things happen, right, the Most High allows you to get tested, you have some kind of backbone. Okay. All experience is not because you have to go through certain, you can learn experience, right? This is why it says, what Hebrews 11, right? Talks about the cloud of witnesses, right? That faith. You can learn these things. All right. Application do give you power, and sometimes, give you more of that, authority. Like I know what God can do, but you learn it. All right. So the God giving us these testimony, these things going in here, the good, bad, and ugly of our nation, right? So that we can learn. All right. It says the prior scriptures is for our learning. All right. So we don't need to be foolish. We do not need to be unexperienced with everything, right? We have, the cheat sheet, right? Which is the word of God. All right, verse 4. Oh, how comely a thing is judgment for gray hairs, and for ancient men to know counsel. I'm going to keep reading because it's kind of connected. Oh, how comely is the wisdom of old men, and understanding and counsel to men of honor. Much experience is the crown of old men, and the fear of God is their glory. Right? Um, I just thought of a scripture. Let's see. But there is a scripture that talks about like the gray hair, right? And that's supposed to be like that sign of glory for older gentlemen, right? Because it's supposed to denounce that it should announce that you have wisdom. Like your gray hair is supposed to kind of show that, all right, this person's wise because what? They lived. And hopefully when you're living, you're gaining experience. So when you're older, you should be full of experience. Now there's some old fools now, beloved. All right. But that gray hair is supposed to be like, I've been here. Okay. So when we think about it, I know everybody dyeing their hair and stuff like that. And so they still trying to look young. But when you get older and everything, as a man, you're supposed to, love the gray hairs that come about. Right. You don't need to be 80 some years old and you trying to just have it all jet black, right? It's a beautiful thing, right? And they supposed to what? Come to you. And you should have what? Counsel, right? Oh, common thing, a judgment for gray hairs and for ancient men to know counsel. Okay. Now, just because you're older, like I said, you can just be an old fool as well, right? When you're older, we supposed to be what? We're supposed to be learning these things. You're supposed to be gathering this knowledge and stuff when you're younger.
Think so.
Right? You're gathering up and then you have an experience, and this is supposed to create a recipe for experience. And with that experience and wisdom, this is what you're supposed to what? Pass down. Okay. So when they come into the church and things of that nature, right? Some of the young women, right, might have issues. Maybe I don't know. I'm dealing with, maybe they got a husband, everything. I'm dealing with this issue, or they're coming with these kind of issues and problems. They come into the older women for that experience. Okay, so you need to be collected in this data, this wisdom. All right, older men, older women, we should both be getting understanding so we can share the wisdom. Okay, you don't always have to be thou should not and all that stuff. It could be everyday things. This is the knowledge of God. It teaches how to deal with everyday problems, everyday situations. Okay. So yes, the experience, much experience is the crown of old men. All right. So that's where you get the glory. That's kind of your when you get older, that's kind of the glory you have, right? When you're young, it could be in the muscles and how fast you're running. When you get older, your body's not the same. Okay. I don't care how much you try to do to your body's not this, it's not the same. Okay. But what we can get glory of is how much wisdom. When you get older, how much wisdom this person has. Okay. So that's what we want to make sure we are pouring into your children as well. All right. Because wisdom is the key. Definitely get older. Well, any age, but when you get older, you want to be at least have wisdom on your side. Right. Verse 7. I'm sorry. Did anybody have anything they wanted to add? All right. Verse 7. There be 9 things which I have judged in my heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter my tongue. A man that have joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. Okay, but to list out things that can make himself, all right, make his heart happy. So he's saying the joy of the children, right? You have children, that's a joy, okay, or should be a joy, right? So he's saying that's a big thing, the fall of the enemy. So you witness your enemy fall. Now, we do understand we shouldn't be, searching for it, right? You shouldn't be trying to see the downfall of certain things. But sometimes the Most High, you have enemies that's trying to tear you down. And sometimes the Most High will pronounce that judgment on them and make them reap for that. And you sometimes witness it, all right? And you're going to get, all right, I feel good. That God's there to protect. You're going to feel that feeling, all right? But we shouldn't be rejoicing. Won't just be destroyed with certain things. Our goal is also that they come to the truth. All right. But sometimes they're just going to be rebellious and God's going to deal with them. And sometimes you're going to witness it and sometimes it's going to make you smile. All right. All right. Verse 8. Verse 8. Well is him that dwelleth with a wife of understanding, and that have not slipped with his tongue, and that have not served a man more unworthy than himself. Okay, so should be common sense, right? A man, he having a wife of understanding, that's going to what? Make the heart happy. Okay, there's certain things, there's certain boundaries you have with somebody that has understanding. All right. It's like, sister, you have a man of understanding. There should be certain bounds. There should be certain things that they should not be able to get to as a man, so-called of the world or without understanding. All right. Somebody that have not slipped with their tongue. All right. We know that somebody that I believe that's in James, somebody that has not offended with his mouth is a perfect man. Okay. That's how crazy our mouths can be. If you can contain it, you basically a perfect person. All right. And then serving a man more unworthy than himself. So, sometimes it feels like a when you're in that servitude, right? Your boss, whatever, you want somebody that you feel is, on that level, right? You should feel that your boss is okay, this is why they're the boss, right? And that sometimes puts you at ease, at comfort, can make you happy because like, okay, they're worthy of this title, stuff like that. But when you feel like, and this, sometimes you have to job like this boss don't know half of what I know. Like, why am I serving it? That's what he's talking about. So it's good to have that, or in any kind of leadership, even in the church. It's like this guy don't know nothing. This is the thing. So you'll be happy when you're serving somebody that you deem as more worthy. Okay. So 9. Well is him that hath found prudence, and he that speaketh in the ears of them that will hear. All right. So if you're having prudence among you, that's a beautiful thing. Speaketh in the ears that of them that will hear. All right. So part of our job and what we do, beloved, is trying to share the word of God. A lot of times you do get people that don't want to hear it, right? And we have to understand that that's okay. All right. That's not a slight on you. Ain't nothing to take you, nothing you have to say, well, am I in the right spirit? No, there's people that they have the option not to hear. Okay. Even the prophets have to deal with that. Talk about whether they hear or forbear. Okay. So some people are not going to hear, but it's a beautiful thing. Don't it bring you so much joy when you talking to somebody about the word of God and they hearing you, right? They're not just trying to fight you on every little thing. They're actually hearing you. Okay. It brings a peace to you. It brings a smile. All right. That should be one of our biggest joys when they actually hearing you. Okay. Verse 10. Oh, how great is he that findeth wisdom. Yet is there none above him that feareth Lord. All right. And we know how important wisdom is. Not just the wisdom of, the world, what they count as wisdom, but the wisdom and knowledge of our God and how to serve. Okay. So if you find wisdom, be able to get wisdom, it's a beautiful thing. All right. And when you get God's wisdom, don't think it don't translate to the certain things with the world. All right. I don't want you to feel like it's one or the other. God's wisdom is everyday knowledge, is excelling in, almost any capacity. Okay. So if you find a wisdom, it's a beautiful thing. Yet, best believe it. I love this part. Yet is there nothing above him that feareth the Lord. That is the what? Ultimate wisdom. I don't care how much astrophysicists and all these kind of things, and how deep, and dealing with deep knowledge, right? It does not compass the knowledge of the Lord. That will always excel any knowledge you can get on this earth, right? Because the knowledge of the earth is supposed, if you study, this is what scripture said, if you study the knowledge of the earth, he said he made this thing so beautiful. He took his time with his creations. He made it so beautiful that if you dive into the knowledge of it, you're going to dive into, man, who's the artist that created this? People are so caught up on the artwork. They're looking at the universe, studying the universe, the planets, the animals, the plants, and all these kind of, and they say, man, it's so detailed, it's so rich with so much knowledge and it's all this kind of things. But God is saying, I made it like this so that you eventually you'll be so obsessed with the artwork. You say, I got to know the what artist, right? When you look at artwork on the walls and people, they dealing with that stuff, they look at it and then they try to what? They love so much artwork from the person. They say, I got to know some of the artists. What is the artist about? And that's why God has these things. So it's a little bit of DNA of everything that's created, right? It has what? God in it. That no matter what avenue you search into wisdom, you're going to what? You're going to eventually run into God. Now, some people have and say, you know what? I don't want to deal with that. I want to still believe. And you can do that, right? But if you dive deep into it, you will get to the point where it's like, there got to be a God. All right. All right. Anybody got anything? All right, let's keep going. Verse 11. But the love of the Lord passeth all things for illumination. He that holdeth it, whereto shall he be likened? All right. So we want that love of the Lord. That will pass everything. Right. This is that, that love of the Lord is what's going to give you that what? That spirit. All right. That illumination. Who's going to be able to have that? Who's going to be able to hold that? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love, and faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. So we always hear the fear of the Lord is the beginning of what? Wisdom. All right. So once again, I told you some of these things you can switch and everything, and it's still the same thing. All right. So this was just saying to the wisdom, you put love. Because if you truly understand what the wisdom of God is, you truly understand as what? Dealing with love. Kind of like we talked about in class. Right? This thing is about loving God and loving your neighbor, right? The love, the commandments, that's what the commandments and laws is about. And so somebody can say it's about the wisdom of God and the wisdom of how to deal with your neighbors. It will both be correct. Okay. But the second part, and faith. All right. And faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. So you need faith, okay, to start to what? Grasp and cleave unto God. We know this because Hebrews 11 tells us, right? In fact, let's go to it real quick. Just, right. Hebrews chapter 11, we know that's the what? Faith chapter, as they call it. 11, and we're going to read verse 6. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. Why? For he that cometh to God must first believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So you got to have faith to please him. He's saying that there's no other way. You have to have faith. Okay? That is the first step. To come to him, you must believe in him. Belief is faith. Okay? So that's why the writer is on point. Okay? Faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. It is the beginning of what? Pleasing him. All right? Get his attention. Taking that step. You got to have faith. Right? Some people want to have God without the faith. Doesn't work. You will never get to any depth if nothing's about faith. Okay? Let's keep going. Verse 13. Give me any plague, but the plague of the heart, and any wickedness, but the wickedness of a woman. All right? So any plague, don't give me the plague of the heart. All right? So we know some people use the heart as here, but also I like to use a lot of times when look in the Bible, a lot of times the heart dealing with the mind. So the plague of the heart can be dealing, it can be going with different angles with what he means with the plague of the heart. I'm thinking more in the mindset, okay? Because that's the whole, that does everything, okay? But it says in any wickedness, I'd rather get any wicked, and of course he's not asking for it, right? But any wickedness, but the wickedness of a woman. So he's just showing you the degree of what he's saying. Like, listen, if I'm gonna get a plague, I'd rather get any plague than basically the worst plague is the plague of the heart. So if I'm gonna get one, I don't want it to be that. And if I'm dealing with wickedness, I don't want the wickedness of the moon. All right. So sisters, I know this it should be that touchy to us because this shouldn't pertain to us. All right. But like I said, even when you go in Proverbs, it talks about that. Right. It talks about, dealing with a wicked sister. And this is very important, not just for women, but men need to understand that. All right. There's some Proverb 31 women, there's a lot of them. And there's also a lot of wicked women. And that can be the death of you. Okay. And this is just real. You can see there's sisters that said, man, they see they knew a God that, maybe always happy in a good spirit, and they got with the wrong person, right? They got with that wrong person, and you can see the just tiredness on the individual. You can see They're just not the same person they are, right? And since y'all do the same thing, y'all deal with that. You have that pleasant sister, and then she link up with the wrong guy. Oh my gosh, she used to be like this, and that. Oh my gosh, since she's been with them. So that that mate selection, right? And a lot of that stuff is happening. What when you're dealing with that wickedness, there's not no peace, right? When somebody is not getting peace, it wears on you. The body's not prepared to be dealing with war all the time, right? Going through that mental anguish all the time. And because we love, right, it makes us vulnerable. We open up. And then now when that wickedness comes, it comes in like a floodgate. All right. So this is what is truly getting at, right? But none of the sisters here will fall under this, right? All right, let's keep going. Verse 14. And any affliction but the affliction from them that hate me, and any revenge but the revenge of my enemies. All right. So once again, he's just saying the worst kind of affliction is the afflictions from your enemies. All right, the ones that hate you. Why? Because we know there ain't no mercy in it, and they try to do the most brutalest things. And the revenge of the enemies. Why? Same reason. Okay. So he said, I don't desire that. That's the worst kind of revenge. That's the worst kind of affliction from this. Verse 15. There is no head above the head of a serpent, right? And there is no wrath above the wrath of an enemy. All right. So he's still making the same kind of comparisons. Okay. Verse 16. I had rather dwell with a lion and a dragon than to keep house with a wicked woman. All right. Emphasis on a wicked woman, not just a woman, a wicked woman. Right. Because once again, the scriptures always talk about what? Be with that wicked woman, it can be like, it's better to be on what the Psalm is saying, the corner of a housetop, right? Than to be in the house with a wicked woman. Because what? It can drive someone crazy. All right. They do things that just drive you crazy. All right. And the same thing, vice versa. All right. Wicked man can drive that woman crazy. So once again, be mindful of that. Right. So he's saying that's a bit, he says, rather dwell with a lion and a dragon, beloved. That's one of the scariest things to dwell with. They say, I'll take that over a wicked woman. Okay. So we have to see the power of that. You got sons. This is why you have to teach your sons. All right. Teach them what they should be desiring. We teach them everything else. How you want to teach them how to be successful. Listen, they can be successful in a certain thing, but a wicked woman can take all that success, all that thing you try to teach and tear it down. All right. So please express to the young men, also the young women, about if they're desiring that. Right. I don't know if they're trying to take the route of a eunuch, right? If they're not doing that and they want it, desiring a mate and stuff like that, mate selection is very important. Okay. Verse 17. The wicked of a woman changeth her face, and darkeneth her countenance like sackcloth. Okay. So he's telling you that wickedness actually would change that person. Okay. And sometimes, listen, beloved, you can see the spirit. Sometimes you can see that spirit on them. You're like, man, it's something about it. Sometimes you're like, it's something about them. Some of y'all y'all can have spiritual eyes. Some of y'all I have spiritual eyes. Some of y'all spiritual eyes may need to even mature, right? Y'all be able to see it even deeper. There was some claims about, I know some people went to church where they had claims they can see certain things on people. So some spiritual gifts you might be actually able to see. It might be like a pitch, darkness on them, right? But you got to make sure you're in the spirit, and it might reveal it like that. Okay. But this is dealing once again with how they are, right? And it's a thing when we're looking at it, beloved, because there's some beautiful, per se, to the flesh, very attractive women, right? And then when you start to get to know them, and if they're like, just mean or always miserable and things of that nature, it will drop their beauty down. Right? I witnessed it, and I'm not the only one. A lot of guys, you ask some guys, you can see it. Some of them have a lot of fun. Oh, they got the woman of their dreams. And then you see after a while, like, I'll get anything but this. Now they don't even care about this. I just need something. I need to get out of this, right? Because that's what wickedness can do. All right. It can take that beauty. All right. Because Israelite sisters are the most beautiful. Yes, they're the most beautiful women on the earth. But if you have that wickedness on you, what are you doing? You're stripping off what? God's beauty that he gave you. Okay. So this is what this brother is dealing with and talking about. Okay, that kind of woman. Not every woman, the wicked woman, right? Verse 18. Her husband shall sit among his neighbors, and when he heareth it, shall sigh bitterly. All right. You'll see them brothers, and I'm not talking like the joking thing, Sometimes you have your wife like, she calling me again, right? I ain't talking about that. There's some where you hear somebody and you just instantly get sad or depressed, right? There's somebody saying they hear about their wife, oh my gosh, right? Their whole demeanor will change. Same thing. Sister, you might have a husband that, oh my God, or this and that, right? You don't want that, beloved, but these things do happen, all right? And that's why you don't want to, light and darkness don't dwell, right? It's going to be that kind of issue, okay? So we shouldn't be like that when we get, these marriages and things of that nature. We don't want to look at our partner in that light, all right? We shouldn't be looking at them in that light, all right? We shouldn't provoke to be looked at in that light as well, okay? So we want to strive for how the Most High intended for it to happen, okay? Let's keep going. Verse 19. I'm sorry, did anybody have anything? All right. Verse 19. All wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of the sinner fall upon her. All right, he's really digging in with the woman, right? So once again, I'm not gonna keep repeating the same thing. We understand why. Okay. Verse 20, as the climbing of a sandy way is the feet of the age. All right. Think about the sand. I don't know if y'all into the beach, stuff like that. It ain't the same as solid, right? That sand, makes it a little harder. So the sandy way is the feet of the age. So is the wife full of words to a quiet man. All right. It just drags them, it just wears them down. Okay. And that's why I used to talk to one of the elders used to say, um, it might have been a movie. I might have got it from like life is just it can really plague even how you look. And I talk mentioning right. Somebody really been going through that. It can start to play them. And it was like a movie line, like life has been cruel to you. They seen somebody that just stuck to me, like life has been cruel to you, right? Because like I said, when you know somebody for a long time, you can see that change. And I seen it. I'm telling you, beloved, I witnessed it. Not just me only. You can witness that thing on certain people. It's like, dang, you see them as this and they're glowing and this and that, and then they get in a relationship and it look like they're just dying. Right. They was when they was around, it just seemed like there was so much life in them. And now they feel like they're just like they're drained and stuff like that. All right. And that's what wickedness can do. All right. We should be about life. People should want to be in our presence. They should feel maybe they're feeling overburdened, overwhelmed, and they should feel like it's a weight fall off when they're in our presence. That's what the spirit's supposed to be doing. It's supposed to be illuminating like that. But when you have that wicked person that you're dealing with, it's such a war and everything. Sometimes it drains you that now you feel like you lost that. Okay. And I'm just out there for nobody. This is why we need to understand this. We need to know this. All right. Because yes, person, yeah, they can drag you down. Okay. Definitely because our hearts are so big and we want to help so much. But sometimes, beloved, some people, when you put that hand to help them out, sometimes they just trying to pull you down. Okay. And we have to be aware of that. I don't want to be go. We need to be mindful of that and aware of that. Okay. Don't destroy yourself. You're not strong enough to hold them up and pull. Don't destroy yourself trying to help somebody that don't want to be helped. Okay. Verse 21. Stumble not at the beauty of a woman and desire her not for her pleasure. Okay. Now of course, you got to be in context, beloved. All right. But it's saying don't just be guys. Sometimes we'll see a woman, she's very beautiful, and it's just, we get all silly, right? That's natural. Man seeing the beautiful, he can feel that's a natural thing. No sin in that per se, unless she is married and you find out she's married and you still trying to go beyond. Now you're going into that other realm. All right. But desiring a beautiful woman, no. All right. You should marry somebody that you are attracted to. That is nothing wrong with that. Okay. But don't let just her beauty blind you from everything else. Because her beauty don't make her what? righteous. Her beauty don't make her holy. Her beauty don't make her a good wife, a virtuous woman. The beauty, nah, that could just be the genes from her mom and dad that just gives it the looks. Don't think the obedience is sold separately. All right, that godly part is sold separately. That has to be a choice. She has to pick that up. But sometimes brother will look at that, look at the beautiful aspect, and they will just say, you know what, I ain't worried about that. We'll make it work. And then they be crying like, this brother talking about, and that's what they're gonna be dealing with. Okay, because they just got caught up on beauty alone. That's why Solomon talks about beauty is vain. All right, vain. Okay, but a woman of the Lord is of a great price, and vice versa. All right, sister. Just because he's 6 foot plus, he's got the big muscles, ripped up stomach, all these kind of things, have all this money and everything. You're like, man, that's me. Listen, a lot of sisters went that wrong path and regretted it. I wish I would have got this person, right? He don't truly love me. He don't truly care me. He don't want to do this. He ain't trying to serve the Lord. He's drawing that. See, now he's dealing with all that. Okay. So beauty is vain both sides, beloved. Okay. But we want to find somebody that fears the Lord. Because there's still work with that. Let me make this clear. I want to make clear. Just because you find somebody that's fearing the Lord don't mean they don't struggle. Don't mean they might not err, things of that nature. Okay. But you got to put your best foot forward into what? Selecting someone, because that's where God's mercy is at. We want to get in a mess, right? Make a covenant with a mess and then saying, God, now fix it, right? I know this all jacked up. Now can you fix it? No, let's stop falling in love with projects. All right. Trust the finished work. Not what they're saying. Trust the actions. Okay. All right. And this is why it's so important to have seasoned people, sisters. This is why it's good to have righteous sisters, not just sisters, because, in the world, because they ain't looking sometimes for the same thing we're not looking for. Fellas, it's good to have other men looking and things of that nature. We need each other. All right. Some of the brothers might be bringing a sister in. Sisters, y'all should be, it should be, we want to embrace. We should be warm and embracing, but also being sober. Okay. Some sisters do pick up on certain spirits before brothers do, and vice versa. Okay, we should be looking at our brother. Hey, bro, this seems cool, but I don't think that's gonna, and be for you. But that has to be the spirit, not just I'm feeling this way because I'm jealous of it. No, but we should be looking at each other like brothers. Like you want the best for your child, for your son and your daughter. That's how we're supposed to look at each other. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Verse 22. A woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach. All right, so we understand that has to be in a certain context because that wouldn't just be correct. So, but a lot of times, beloved, we see a lot of these relationships, and of course, they're putting it all on the YouTube, the TV, the movies, and all these kind of things. Like everywhere you turn, they're just talking about how these marriages are terrible and this and that, right? And it is a lot of bad examples, but they're not true marriages when it comes to the scriptures. Okay, the unions that people put together, but they're not true marriages. And these things that he's talking about, yeah, it will happen. And we know we see this and hear about this stuff all the time. All right, but this does not have to be. Okay. There's somebody out there that you do not have to go through these things and worry about these things. Okay. He is specifying a wicked woman. Okay. Same thing, we look at the scriptures, talk about that wicked man. All right. So we do have to be mindful of that, because when you do join yourself to that, these things can come about. Okay. Let's keep going. Verse 23. A wicked woman abandoneth the courage, maketh an heavy countenance and a wounded heart. A woman that will comfort her husband in distress maketh weak hands and feeble knees. All right. I'm just not going to keep reiterating the same thing. Verse 24. Of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all died. Okay. So, beloved, let's just talk about in the beginning, because it kind of introduced through the whole thing. All right. But we know Adam do take the fall. All right. Because he did wrong. All right. She did it, but he's supposed to be the head and he should have corrected it. All right. We ain't going to even skip around it. He did it. All right. By him, sin entered into the world. Okay. So he could have stopped it. All right. But she was guilty of what she did. She threw her hand, I was deceived. Okay. So through that, wickedness did come, and what? And through her, we all die. All right. And we all dying through that act, right? One man died, but we got Christ that we all should be made alive. All right. But it did come through that. Right. Verse 25, give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to gad abroad. All right. So just like giving water a passage, right? You let the floodgates, what? You can't stop it. I don't know if y'all seen certain things like dams and stuff, and the water's backed up and they let it out, right? It's hard to, stop it once the water's flowing. The same thing. You don't want to give room when it comes to wickedness and things like that. Sisters, don't give excuses for somebody constantly showing you that they're not willing to serve God or do the things of God. All right. Once you let that floodgate happen and keep going, it's going to be very hard to try to what? Correct or bring it back. Okay. Verse 26. If she go not as thou wouldst have her, cut her off from thy flesh and give her a bill of divorce and let her go. Okay. So when you're looking at this, it's kind of dealing with that uncleanness. You see that what? Because two need to walk together. Two can't walk together unless they be agreed. All right. Not agreeing with you, y'all not going to walk together. You're not walking together. That's not the true form of a marriage. All right. So this is why the scriptures talk about that they found some uncleanness in her, those kind of things. All right. So he's saying cut her off the flesh because what? When you marry, you become what? You become one flesh. The divorce will what? That what separates it. That was the thing that what separated. So that's all he's saying with that. Okay. Let her go. Yeah, fault. All right. Somebody said, I don't want to do this. I want to serve. I don't want to serve your God. I want to do this stupid junk. I want to leave. I ain't telling you to grab them at the leg and try to, wrestle them down. No, you need to stay. Listen, they have in their mind, you do what you can do. You can fast, you can pray. At the end of the day, they get that ultimate choice. And if they just, well, I'm just gonna do that, I'm going to divorce. That's not on you at that point. Okay. Now we ain't gonna go into the whole thing of it, but of course, if you don't be antagonizing and trying to push somebody out the door and then play victim, all right. But no, there's some people that sincerely trying to just serve God and stuff like that, and the other person is just letting the devil use them, and they don't want to be dealing with it, and then they just want to cut you off, and that's you're free. You got liberty at that point. Okay. All right. Anybody have anything? Anybody have anything for this chapter? All right. That's Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 25. All right. Hopefully, we learned something. All right. You can review it at your own time as well. And with that, those that's watching on YouTube, we say Ayana Habathum, which means we love you all. We truly do, family. Shalom, shalom, and Ayana.